Hello everyone, my name is Sam Parak and you are watching my YouTube channel. Today is a very special video that I am sharing with you. It is DevOps Roadmap 2022. I would like to call it as a success roadmap of 2022. Now, I have been reached out in the past by many people who want to get into technology, who want the DevOps roadmap, who are students, who are just new, who just need guidance, who just need a clear cut path to a DevOps engineer, a Kubernetes engineer, and I would like to share all about it in one video with you all. So I'm very excited for this video and hope you are too. So let's get started right away. Now, I want to start by saying that anyone can learn anytime. So, why I'm saying this is there is no age of starting a new technology. You can start right now. Now, I would like to call this as a 6 month plan. Why? Because there has to be a time that you are giving yourself to be prepared as a person that you are looking for or a job that you are targeting. Now there are various domains that this particular roadmap will target. Obviously, each role that is mentioned over here, meaning the cloud consultant, SRE, DevOps engineer, Kubernetes engineer, developer advocate, they have their own specializations. But what I have done with this roadmap is it fits somewhere in all the domains, but it totally covers the DevOps engineer. For example, the cloud consultant is a person who is well aware of the cloud, who does know how to architect well on a particular cloud, and apart from the basics. And they usually have certain certifications like the professional architect or professional security engineer. There are n number of certifications with respect to cloud as well. Then comes the SRE. So SRE is site reliability engineering, and a site reliability engineer is aware of building the reliable systems. A lot of extra terminologies like the SLAs, SLO, SLI, and those things which are only valid for the SRE domain. Now, the DevOps engineer that we'll be discussing throughout the roadmap is a much wider domain. You need to understand the culture, the automation, infrastructure as code, Kubernetes, CI/CD, observability, cloud, and everything. In Kubernetes engineer, there is some focus which is on obviously Kubernetes, CNCF technology, Golang, because extending Kubernetes, writing the operators, all those comes when you talk about a specific core Kubernetes engineer domain. And then developer advocacy, obviously you need to have a wider, broad knowledge, but also it has to be on the product side. Say, for example, you are working at a XYZ company building XYZ product and you are working as a developer advocate over there, then probably you'll be building solutions around that. Now, if you are a developer advocate at Google, then you will be building out solutions based on Google Cloud. So that's how the developer advocacy will differ company to company, product to product. But you need to understand the landscape well. You need to understand the technologies that fits together and that can form a solution with a particular cloud, with a particular technology. Now here, if you do not understand any of these terminologies, CI/CD or whatever they are, it's completely fine, because I am going to tell you everything that is required with the resources. Now, I'm not going to teach you, obviously, in this particular course. I'm just going through the roadmap that should be followed in order to achieve job from any of these domains, like a junior cloud consultant, SRE, DevOps engineer, Kubernetes engineer, or developer advocate. Now, before starting anything, obviously, you should be having a computer. Now, there is no prerequisite before the prerequisite. So let's start with the prerequisites. So you should be familiar with Linux operating system. Operating system is nothing but the machine that you are running. It is powered by operating system. Let's say it's a Windows laptop, so you are running Windows machine. If you are working or watching the video right now on MacBook, then it is running Mac OS. So probably Windows you all might know, or Mac OS you all might know. There is Linux operating system, which is most widely used in servers and running the software. So you should be familiar with Linux distributions as a first step. So there are different distributions like Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora. You should be knowing how, what are these, what are the different software installs for each of them. Like for CentOS it's yum, and for Ubuntu it's apt. So you should be knowing about the about using the command line. You should be familiar using it. You might have seen in the movies, the screen, and you have all the fancy commands that the hacker is typing. You should be familiar with the command line interface, the CLI and the CLI commands. Now these are the set of commands that you should be bare minimum familiar with, like the user management, how to manage user within Linux, the file management, working with the files and directories, the text editor, Vim, systemd, the process, how to start a process, kill a process, the VI, the CD, changing the directory. Then you should be knowing how to move, copy, kill, export, curl command, the ping, netstat, nslookup, commands. Then why this is important is because without knowing these commands you won't be able to kind of proceed further. You won't be able to understand what is happening. You should be familiar with basic command line, like you might have seen in the movies. You have seen the screen where a lot of information is getting printed on the screen, the command line interface. So you should be familiar with that interface. You should be familiar with all these commands, user management, file management, working with files and directories, text editor, systemd, processes. So all these you should be familiar with, because in the end that you'll be learning the containers and the stuff we'll discuss later on. They have a requirement of you learning Linux. Now these get extended to bash tricks, basically writing small scripts for automation. Now this becomes necessary because as a DevOps engineer, whenever there is a small automation tasks, obviously you are required to write that, and for that you need to have some knowledge, some scripting knowledge. So either you should be knowing the bash scripting, shell scripting that you say, or the Python programming language or Golang. Now as a DevOps engineer, it's not required to have extensive knowledge of a particular language, but you should be able to write the automation scripts and get that particular work done. You should also be aware of the web server. What is a web server? What is Nginx? What is it? Apache HTTP? Any of the web servers widely used? What is a proxy? Reverse. What do you mean by reverse proxy? What is HA proxy? Because HA proxy internally, later on will be used or can be used as a load balancer that can be used for setting up a highly available Kubernetes cluster. So all these things are kind of interlinked. So that is why HA proxy is required. And traffic also you can learn about. Also you should be knowing about SSH, like how to SSH into the system. SSH means logging into a particular VM or a machine. Basically what you'll be doing is you'll be creating virtual machines or VM in cloud. Now the cloud are basically the hardware or the data centers that are located across the globe. Now you'll be creating a small machine over there and you'll be logging over there. So that is where you'll be using the secure shell. So you should be knowing all those commands. So in a nutshell, you should be knowing Linux, and you can easily learn Linux using the edX Linux course by Linux Foundation. Superb course, and that is the course that you just need. And the DevOps Prerequisites course, which is there on Free Code Camp YouTube. So all the links, everything that I'm mentioning, I'll put them in the description. You can check that. So that is all you need to learn Linux. So Linux required for DevOps. Now you need not learn extensive Linux networking, extensive Linux security, extensive Linux system administrator, because those are separate specializations for which people are hired. You need to know enough to understand the cloud native world. Next comes the basic networking. Now in basic networking, you need to understand how systems communicate, like how a system A is communicating with system B over the network, how the data is getting transferred. And what do you mean by LAN, WAN? What is switch, router, internet service provider, IP address and types, OSI model, the 7 layers of OSI model, basics of subnetting, DNS basics. DNS basics is very important. and switching and routing. Now I'm not saying you need to kind of do CCNA, CCNP, and the complete networking stuff, but you need to know enough. You need to know the basics. Basics are very important, because if you are very new to the world, you will get puzzled at times, and you'll not understand how things are actually working. Now a lot of resources are there. There is a 17-hour CCNA course. I think the part 1 itself is enough. Then you have so very good orally book on networking and Kubernetes. So it tells you enough about all the networking pieces which are required for Kubernetes. Now there are few courses that are really useful. This comes under the paid section, because this comes under the A Cloud Guru website, which is kind of subscription based. So it has like networking foundations, network routing fundamentals, subnetting fundamentals, and Linux domain name server fundamentals. So these 4 short courses are really good. But you can just take this, search on Google, and get some of the documents and study, or this particular video. And even in the DevOps prerequisites course, you'll find a lot of information about all the topics that I have just mentioned. Third one is introduction to YAML. So YAML, there's a very good 18-minute video by Tech World with Nana on YouTube that will give you a great introduction to YAML. So these 3, I would say, comes under the prerequisite sections, and from the next section, we'll it kinds of dwells into the DevOps world. So whenever you are writing the code, any software, any open source software that you are writing, it is having code which is called the source code. It has to stay somewhere, it has to live somewhere. So it lives in GitHub. So you should be familiar with Git. You should know how to work with Git. So obviously now you have a working knowledge of Linux. You know how to do the command line stuff. Now you should be able to work with Git as well. How to set up, how to create a repository, how to commit and push the code, the branching strategy, pull request, what are public repos, private repos, pull, rebase, for, clone, all these concepts you should be familiar with. So you should know like what GitLab is, what GitHub is. You can store your code over there. And the resources for this is a free code camp course on YouTube, Git and GitHub crash course, a complete Git and GitHub by Kunal Kushwaha, and advanced Git for the advanced users on free code camp YouTube as well. Again, all the links will be provided in the description. So now next up is cloud. Now you should be familiar with the terms like infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. What is a cloud? What is a data center? And how things work, the cloud concepts, benefits of cloud, the infrastructure. Like in old days, people used to order the huge racks, and how much time it took to get those racks for a particular task, and wastage of the resources. Then cloud came into picture, where everything is API driven. So there is a data center located by a built by a company, and you have built a lot of APIs on top of that, and you are given a console from where you can log in, you can create a VM, and you'll get a particular VM, and you pay pay for the use of what you are actually using. So all these benefits and infrastructure terminologies you should be aware of. Now there are different cloud providers like Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Oracle Cloud, Civo Cloud is there. uh, the basic concepts, the basics remain the same, like the network, compute, storage, identity and access, and billing. So these key 5 kind of terms remain the same. Every cloud will be having its own network, firewalls, VPC, and then storage will be there, compute will be there, where you'll be provisioning the virtual machines, identity and access management to manage the users, and obviously the billing. Now, apart from the basic ones, each cloud provider is having their own unique functionalities. Like the major cloud vendors, they have big data, databases services, machine learning services, Kubernetes services. Then there are cloud providers that focus only on specific services. Like Civo focuses mainly as of now on managed Kubernetes services, and not a wide variety of services. So the thing here is, you need to learn a cloud technology. That is for sure. Now you can pick any cloud technologies, since the AWS is kind of the oldest one, the most widely used one. So go with that. And the resources is again AWS certified cloud practitioner full course. It's a 13-hour course, and it is for the certification of cloud practitioner. Obviously, getting certified and getting the credibility, or checking your skills, or checking what you have learned, is always good, but it's totally optional. So you can do the associate level certification in the DevOps professional, but this is a free resource. Now, all the other clouds also offer free resources. Like Azure have their free courses. You can see all the Azure courses which are there that you can take free of cost. Oracle is having Oracle University, which is having the Oracle courses for Oracle Cloud. And then you have GCP, so Google Cloud Learning courses are also there. So you can pick and choose any of the cloud, and just make sure you know the basic cloud terminologies. And once you get work with one particular cloud, it will be easy to work with next cloud, because you understand the cloud terminology, you understand the cloud concepts, you understand how things work. It should not be that difficult to work with other clouds. So you should be able to work with clouds. You should be able to learn kind of quickly, and certs are the add-on for this. Next comes the very important one in the DevOps ecosystem, Kubernetes ecosystem, and all the ones that we discussed, all the domains that we discussed, is virtualization and containers. So you should be knowing, obviously, first there were servers, then you had the virtualization, and now the world is into the containers. So you should know what is a VM, what is a container, what are the differences between them. You should be knowing the container technology. What is the container technology? So the most widely used adopted is Docker. Like how to build an image, push, pull, tag, run. What is actually image? The concepts behind that. There are other container technologies like Podman and Buildia, where Buildia is used to build and Podman is used to run that. Now you might not be able to understand what is the image, what is a container. Obviously, we need to learn that. And then you have Canico. It Canico is can build from Docker file inside container or K8s cluster. Co is for Go apps. Kim is built from CRI, containerd, and build kit. So all these are actually different. All these are different open source projects. Now you need to learn just one. So let's say we are learning Docker with this roadmap. Also, check out this video on OCI, CRI, and making sense of the container landscape in Kubernetes. Very important to learn the concepts of OCI and CRI. Resources. Now, for this particular roadmap, we are choosing Docker to learn. Now, the resources are, there's a complete playlist on Docker on my YouTube channel by Saloni. It covers like introduction, hands-on, storage, networking, security demo, Docker Compose, and Docker Swarm as well, which is the orchestration one. Free Code Camp YouTube, complete Docker with Node.js by building a Node.js application. Again, Tech World with Nana is having a Docker Zero to Hero. There is a very good Docker deep dive by Nigel that was done on my YouTube channel, that describes how actually image running process looks like. Then for the advanced users, you should, after this, you should focus on Docker security, Docker file best practices, and container security scanning. So Docker security, there are two great videos I would like to recommend on Hackersploit YouTube. One is how to secure Docker, and another is auditing Docker security. Now there is also like understanding Docker the visual way, that you can have a look at. And there is a DockerCon talk on the Docker file best practices that you should be taking a look at. So all these resources should be enough for you to be proficient in Docker and container technology. So now don't say that, I'm just talking words and I'm not able to understand anything. I am telling you that you need to know the meaning of this. You need to understand what all these do, and all these are the resources. So get set, go. And next part is my favorite, Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is container orchestration, a must learn for all domains. And there are plenty of resources out there. I'll list them out. You should be knowing, what Kubernetes is, its architecture, what are Kubernetes objects, secrets, config maps, persistent volume claim, networking, services. Now, I am giving you a small mind map for a Kubernetes engineer, because there was a domain of Kubernetes engineer. Just want to highlight what extra you should be knowing. Like, you should definitely know how to set up a how to set up a Kubernetes cluster on a compute node using containerd, and you high available install like HA install using HA proxy or kubevip. You should be knowing about the observability. You should be knowing about Kubernetes security, CI/CD within Kubernetes, service mesh, auto scaling, chaos engineering, GitOps, the backup using Velero, infrastructure provisioning tools. So all these things you should be knowing as a Kubernetes engineer, because that's what it demands. But as a DevOps engineer also, there are certain pieces from this particular mind map that you should be knowing. Now let's talk about some of the resources. Now, one of the best resources that I can recommend is Civo Academy. Why? Because I myself curated the whole list. Now, actually, the before Kubernetes section teaches you about containerization, about CNCF, about this basic Linux command that is required for Kubernetes. So I think that itself covers a lot. But again, all the above resources still are very valid. Then Kubernetes introduction, concepts, setup, objects, networking, services, volumes, config, and security. There's another Tech World with Nana YouTube video on Kubernetes from zero to hero that you can check out. Cube.academy have a lot of courses that you can check out, again, free of cost. Then there is Introduction to Kubernetes on edX by Linux Foundation. You must do that because those are by Linux Foundation, and people have taken that. It's really good. And Civo Academy, civo.com/academy, completely free of cost. It's also superb course. Next, let's go to the certification aspects. So there are different certification levels in Kubernetes. Like, there's the first one, KCNA, which is Kubernetes and Cloud Native Associate. It's objective type, and this particular video will help you prepare for that. I was one of the SMEs in creation of this certification. Then for CK, CKAD, CKS, all the resources should be listed with this video that I did with my very good friend Walid. Then there is an official certs magic show that I did with CNCF, and that is there on CNCF YouTube channel. And also there's a book that I wrote on CKS scenarios specifically for CKS. Certification again is optional and only for validating your skills and just showcasing, having fancy badges. It obviously increases your chances for like shortlisting the resumes and all that stuff. But to be very honest, the knowledge matters, the learning matters, the learning path matters. So with all these resources, and if you want like more in-depth knowledge, three very good books is Networking Kubernetes, Production Kubernetes, Hacking Kubernetes, that you should buy and learn. So all the resources will give you enough knowledge about Kubernetes, and you'll be like Kubernetes ready for a job. Let's go to the next section in DevOps, Roadmap 2022, which is CI/CD, Continuous Integration, Continuous Delivery. Now, whenever you are writing a code in today's world, it is driven by kind of various stages till you release your product. What technology is helping us doing is there are different tools that helps you define these stages and helps you achieve those in an automated way. So GitHub Actions and Jenkins, I would recommend here to go through. Now, a typical CI/CD cycle looks like code commit, and then building of the image, then testing, then the staging environment, and deploying that, and finally releasing that. That's a typical CI/CD cycle. So you should be knowing about the CD foundation landscape, what actually it is. You should be knowing about the concepts. What are the CI/CD concepts? uh, in when you talk about Kubernetes native, so Kubernetes native more for like Kubernetes and SRE stuff. What is GitOps? What are the tooling, which is Flux, Argo, Fleet? Again, all open source projects. You can find those in my YouTube channel. There is a free course on getting certified by CodeFresh for GitOps and Argo, that you can learn. And there is a CI/CD week that I did with the experts. So you should watch that. Like, it talks about various projects: Tecton, Sigstore, Argo CD, Kepton, and Jenkins. So you should be knowing about these two: GitHub Actions and Jenkins. So where to learn from? Again, Jenkins full course is available on Simply Learn YouTube. GitHub Action is there on Tech World with Nana. Also, I did a GitHub Actions video using Cloud Run on my YouTube channel. I think these should give you enough explanation on what Jenkins is, how to write a Jenkins file, and what all things are there, how to do the administration within the Jenkins UI and all that stuff. Next up is infrastructure as code. Now, infrastructure as code, there are three tools that come to immediately to the mind are Terraform, Crossplane, and Pulumi. As a DevOps engineer, you should definitely know about Terraform. Now, why infrastructure as code? Like, it's code to create the infrastructure, so you can codify your infrastructure provisioning, automate like creation, updation, deletion. No manual errors, no misconfiguration. You will be able to know the state of your infrastructures. That is why the kind of infrastructure provisioning should is important. You should be knowing about the IAC concepts. uh, so there are two courses from Free Code Camp. One is Terraform in 2 hours, and one is the complete HashiCorp Terraform certified associate, which is a 13-hour course. Then the Crossplane and Pulumi are more from the Kubernetes engineer and SRE perspective. So Crossplane, you can definitely check CNCF minutes video of Crossplane composition deep dive, and Crossplane deep dive from my YouTube channel. Uh, so the CNCF minutes is a way of learning about a CNCF project in few minutes. I have a complete 20 videos playlist. You should definitely check out all if you are in the DevOps and the Kubernetes, because you will be dealing with CNCF ecosystem. You will be learning about the CNCF ecosystem, and that will greatly help you out over there. Then in configuration management, I suggest to learn Ansible. Let's talk about observability. Observability is very important. There are four pillars to that: monitoring, logging, tracing, profiling. Very clear cut tooling that I want you to learn from this particular roadmap is Nagios, Prometheus. Prometheus is a time series database. And then go to Thanos for highly available Prometheus, Grafana for visualization. For logging, you can do Elastic and Loki. For tracing, Jaeger, and for profiling, Parka. Now, you should be knowing about what observability it is, what are the observability pillars on each tool, how to set up and configure each tool. What do you mean by open telemetry and open tracing? Resources is one of the KubeCon videos on getting started with Jaeger, CNCF minutes video on Prometheus and Thanos. I did a K8s monitoring video, and getting dirty with monitoring and auto scaling for self-managed cluster. This one is for a production ready cluster, so that will give you enough knowledge about uh, all the toolings, why monitoring is important, and the tools required for that. So these are the tools that you should be looking at. And these are the various combinations from one of the slides that I presented, for various monitoring solutions that you can opt for, like Prometheus, Thanos, Jaeger, Loki, Grafana, this as a combination, or Prometheus, Cortex, Grafana as a combination, of Victoria, ClickHouse, Grafana as a combination, or Telegraph, Influx, Grafana as a combination. So basically there are different combinations that people pick and choose. You can pick and choose for yourself, but if you just are following the roadmap, then do the Prometheus, Thanos, Jaeger, Loki, and Grafana. So pick the first one. Then comes the chaos engineering. You should be knowing about creating chaos in the systems for better resiliency and all that stuff. So there are videos. There are two important projects I would like to mention over here, which is Chaos Mesh and Litmus. You can pick either one of them. There are videos on CNCF minutes video on both of them. Deep dive videos on both of them on my YouTube channel that you can check out. Then comes the policies. In Kubernetes, policies have become very important part. For the four important projects that come to mind are KubeWarden, OPA, Open Policy Agent, Kyverno, and JS Policy. Uh, I did a video on various policy engines for Kubernetes that gives you a gist of all four projects. Yes, all four projects. Kyverno has a kind of courses on introduction to Kyverno and Kyverno in production. Even I have Kyverno CNCF minutes and deep dive video. I also have OPA CNCF minutes and OPA deep dive video on my YouTube channel that you can do. And Civo Academy has a full course on OPA policy. So make sure you check out these resources and you learn from them. Next up is service mesh. So service mesh won't be there for all Kubernetes clusters, but as soon as you are scaling, you would need a service mesh. And there's a very good course on introduction to service mesh with Linkerd that you can find on edX. So make sure you take that. Also, another service mesh is called Istio. There are a couple of courses on Istio as well that you can take. Few of the other things are like container security, supply chain security, Kubernetes security, about the CNCF landscape terminologies, definitely writing the operators, what are they, how to write an operator, what is operator SDK. You should be knowing about that. So that is kind of a complete roadmap that you can follow and learn. And once you are done with all the resources that I have provided, give yourself some time, because this is not a 1 day job, this is not a 1 month job. You will need time to to process all these. Obviously you are going from Linux to networking to cloud, and then you are moving to containers, Kubernetes, and then you're moving around that with observability, service mesh security, chaos engineering. So a lot is there to grasp, and you cannot grasp them in a very less time. So give yourself a 6 month time frame, and you will be job ready if you are following this particular roadmap for sure. You can definitely do it. And what you need to do is subscribe to this channel, because I will be creating a lot of content with respect to this complete roadmap. You need to follow me on Twitter, because I'll be posting hosting spaces with respect to this particular roadmap for the success of you, so that you can get job ready, you can get into technology, you can get good jobs, good remote jobs out there from all the domains that were listed above on top. Share this roadmap as much as you can, so that everyone can take benefit from it, everyone can learn technologies, they know which technology to learn in with respect to this particular roadmap. And I'm sure you will be kind of job ready, get into the world of technology. No matter from where you are, no matter what your background is, you can definitely learn all these things. I would request everyone just to start learning. Tons of free resources out there. I have not mentioned like the paid resources except for a couple, but tons of free resources out there. Reach out to me if you are still unclear on what to do. But I think this is the if you follow the complete roadmap, and if you follow all the resources which are provided, there is no power on the earth that can stop you from getting a good job in a company. Because as per the Linux Foundation survey, more than 90% of hiring managers are finding it difficult to find the right talent because of the missing pieces which are there. And if you have successfully done all these steps, then probably you are good to go. You can find yourself going in developer advocacy, you can find yourself going in SRE, or as a Kubernetes engineer, or as a DevOps engineer, or as a cloud consultant, junior cloud consultant. Even your degree won't matter, because to be honest, I have seen a lot of companies who are not focusing on your past degrees or experience, but just what you can learn. So if you have learned this, if you can showcase this, you are good to go. Definitely one point I want to highlight is learn in public. Showcase what you're learning in forms of blogs, in forms of Twitter threads, in forms of GitHub repository. Create your GitHub repository, do your learnings over there, share with your friends, and say, you are doing this. You'll get noticed. People will know you are learning something. Do 100 days of XYZ, 100 days of DevOps, or 6 months of DevOps roadmap, whatever you want. You can start the hashtag and start doing it. Tell people what you are doing. I think it's very, the first step is difficult to take, because that is a step to get started. Once you start, there's no stopping. Then obviously this particular roadmap will help you out there, and you can get the jobs. Trust me, you will be able to get the jobs. With that, wish you all the best for 2022. Wish you all the best with your DevOps journey. Feel free to reach me out on any platform. And thank you so much for listening till the end. And make sure you share this video to as many people as you can. I want millions to make something out from this video. Thank you so much for watching. I have been waiting for doing this for so much time, and finally did it. So thank you.